I'm sorry this is going up so late. It's been a day. Um, I wanted to talk about isolation really quick. Um, I think that when we talk about mental health, we talk about like isolation being a bad thing, and for the most part, people who isolate, they do. It's not a productive thing. It's an avoidance of real issues and real things that need to be talked about. Um, but there are some people who isolation is a way to kind of recharge and feel more grounded. Um, I think that isolation, depending on the context of its usage, can be a good thing. Um, and I think that for different people, isolation is a negative because then you're just alone with your thoughts. I feel like I'm more 50-50. I mean, like isolation is awful for for like the most part. I think like 50% of the time, actually, it's just not good. It makes me kind of worse. But then the other 50% of the time, it's actually amazing, and it gives me a minute to decompress and just be alone with myself and to not have to put on this brave face of like everything's fine, I'm okay, I promise you don't need to worry about me. And I think that that's a big thing that no one talks about. Um, Switching gears a little bit, though, kind of a segue into is that sometimes isolation can lead to self destructive behaviors like drinking or self harm behaviors. And I think that, you know, those things are negative experiences. And segueing into self harm is, you know, it's. I'm very concerned with today's culture about self harm because we have like there is a girl who is on Facebook and she's this got thousands of people that watch her and she's covered in scars. And something she says that I agree with is that we need to not be hiding of the fact that these are real issues and that, you shouldn't have to cover your scars up. However, the way that, she goes about it is it's too much. I'm not talking about you've got a few cuts on your arm or you've got like a section on your arm that's kind of scarred to shit. This girl is covered, and I mean that. I mean covered from her shoulders all the way down to her feet in thick, raised up scars, and that's really sad because that means that she's got this struggle, and that's totally fair, and I totally get it, but that is too much. I think that there is a huge difference between not being ashamed of your mental health and your struggle and just this promotion of it. Because I see what she does as a promotion of a self-destructive behavior. Those 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 cuts are. It's not like we're talking about someone who no longer self-harms. We're talking about someone who not only still self-harms, but when she gets stitched up or glued or stapled or whatever, she then takes pictures of it and posts it, and that and is like, oh my god, look at it. There is a huge line in the sand between I'm not ashamed of these parts of my past, and I am profiting off of, my mental health problems. Because she is, whether that's uh, attention or money, she's getting attention from thousands of people, and thousands of young people are self harming and, you know, being triggered by these massive I'm an advocate for bringing these things into the light, but again, I'm not gonna say her name just because she's a drama queen, and when people talk shit about her or what she perceives to be talk shit, she throws a fit and sends her fans after the person. And that's not to say that she doesn't have a struggle, but anyone who knows who this girl is, these aren't a couple cuts. These aren't a couple scars. They're her entire body. her whole body is covered in raised up, thick, long scars. And for the most part, I'm someone who doesn't I don't self harm really regularly. It's something that is more linked to PTSD, and when I have a really bad day, it can come back up. But even so, and it's not linked to depression. I'll see her. I'll see pictures of her, and I just because it'll come up in like conversations about mental health, and even I'm just like, that's triggering to look at. And it's not, and she will say, well, if you don't like it, don't look at it. Well, okay, I can't control what other people share. And I hate the mentality of, if you don't like the comedy or the rape joke, then don't fucking listen to it. And that's unrealistic. I mean, back in the day before social media, maybe, yeah, you totally could have just not watched it, not looked at it, not sought it out. But now, in the age that we live in, that's not possible. You will at some point see it. It will at some point, unintentionally, even if you have never heard of this person before, even if you're not in those circles, it will come up on your Facebook feed, or in a conversation, or on your Instagram, or whatever. You do not have to be seeking it out to see it. Like, I found this girl completely on accident. Someone shared one of her pictures, and I remember looking at it. She's in a tank top, and it's just her clavicles covered in scars, her shoulders, there is not an inch of skin on this girl that is not covered in self-harm marks. Not an inch of skin. She has started to self-harm on her neck, which is so dangerous. And there are people that blindly are like, "Oh, you're so inspirational." That is dangerous. That is a dangerous mentality. There's a huge line between supporting someone who struggles with self-harm and mental illness, and worshiping someone who drives home a very dangerous narrative. And that harkens back to isolation. I think that you can isolate yourself on the internet. You can be talking to someone, but if you're not honest with yourself about your struggle and the things going on, you're isolating, and you're isolating yourself by by this girl not accepting that she has a problem, and it is a problem, and it's not safe, and what she is doing is harming other people. She is isolating herself off from receiving real critical help and being told, "I am concerned for you." She says she sees a therapist, and maybe she does. I don't know. But a therapist would look at her, at least any therapist that I've ever met or encountered, would look at her and go, "You need to not be on social media as much. You need to not cover yourself up, because you shouldn't be ashamed, but you need to pull it back a bit, because it is not healthy. It's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for the people around you." And, one of these days, you are going to be responsible for the death of someone. Now, that is not to say that if you have self-harm marks, or if you are self-harming, that you're going to hurt someone. When you have a platform and an audience, however, or lots of people watch you, you have a certain responsibility when a lot of people listen to you, or a lot of people look up to you, to not perpetuate a dangerous narrative. The person walking down the street who's got self-harm marks, who gets shit from someone, no, that's completely different. You are fine, sweetheart. Deep breath, move on. That person doesn't know what they're talking about. Someone who has 50,000 or 5,000 or however many thousands of people watching them, who wears tank tops and continuously posts pictures of new, fresh wounds and their mutilated skin, and doesn't seek out better outlets, that person, I would say, you need to reevaluate your life. The 14-year-old just trying to go to school and also deal with their mental health, and someone is like, "You need to cover yourself up." Fuck the person telling you to cover up, because you are just trying to get by. You are just trying to coast along in life. You are not trying to gain fame from your struggle. And that is where I would say are the huge differences.